This is what you do to fix it. Just put some tape over it, rub it 3 times, and it fixes it. If you don't know that, that's all you have to do. You gotta rub it a certain way, say a couple chants, and then all of a sudden it's fixed. So I'm gonna leave this there to marinate. This is the sand car body. Raw form. Got a bit done since the last update, I think. Kind of want to position some of this a little better so it doesn't fall. So part of what I've learned with some of these things is, like aluminum especially, you don't want to lock in super critical mounting surfaces or part lines until your welding and your metal shaping is done on the car. Like seam welding, if you have Clecos, cool, but if you're making tabs and then you have Zeus buttons that are going into these things, you know, for instance, if I were to cut this seam and then put a return on here and box all this in, but I didn't have any of the shaping done for the detail in the hood, everything would go and twist or shrink and all this stuff, and then all of the work I put into detailing something out would be pointless because I didn't finish the chunks. So like with this car, treating it like a sculpture is premium to me. Meaning that get all the big shapes done. Some of this I do to make sure the proof of concept is right, and I'm just checking it. I still have to come in here with a hammer and a dolly and get stuff right. But that is like also part of an instant gratification of just let me get a little sneak peek at what some of these surfaces are gonna do. Or finish something out, you know, like it goes back and forth because it's like you can be the robotic, disciplined soldier guy, and I will fit all panels, I will tack all panels, then I will weld all panels, and I will not sand panels until I am done with all the others. That's neat, but part of it is getting some of that satisfaction of starting to see the shapes and how they're gonna flow and feel. So a lot of this right now is, you know, file sanded, not final finished. If you look at the gap right here, go ahead, have fun. Look at that bad boy. This was Luke and I, you know, me telling Luke, hey, I think windshield needs to be, I was literally doing, I held the piece of glass up here. The glass is from Toyota people, I'm sorry, whatever, but like the old 93 Toyota, I don't know what age is that, maybe it went to a 95, 88 to 95 or something like that, but classic single cab Toyota glass, windshield glass is really premium for these things. And you know, I held it up there and then I marked where I think it's going to be. And when I started building this, I realized that there was too much taper on the top. And so like from this angle, Joey, what was going to happen is I built this whole screen where it was much larger, you know, hanging off by 2 inches into the glass. And then I marked it and started cutting into it. But what I realized is it was gonna make the mass of the A-pillar up here be wider than the lower portion, like a weird peg leg, and that just goes against all design principles. So we're gonna cut a new piece of glass. It's better the win here, it's better to take a loss on a remanufactured piece of glass that we cut versus having the architecture of the car look backwards. So all the frame is chunked in. It's gapped up here, and it's pretty good. We did a lot of shrinking and stretching. Something I'm learning, and it's still a new process, is finding the balance between, you know, shaping and forming. Like forming where I put one piece to the next piece and I weld it there and that makes a form, versus making a shape, you know, putting a tip into something and then just welding the shape to the next shape. And that's a completely different art. I think I'm 10% in on understanding shrinking and stretching and shaping in general. So the blessing is I can build a hybrid system where I can do some of the shaping, like this was all tipped and shrunk and stretched where there is no seam here. This body line of the glass, that's all shaped into there. It's not welded. You know, there's areas to do that here. This whole shape back here is the same thing. So there's a hybrid combo going on where we're doing multiple of that. So anyways, this is gonna go wider. Wanting to still chunk this thing out, I've been on the hood. The hood, even though I had it fixtured in here, you're putting a big dramatic shape into aluminum. So now the next step, this used to be the scariest thing. Like right here, there used to be this huge hump. Big old, like I welded everything and I had it fixtured across here. I had it fixtured here, clamped, clecoed, everything. And I'm like, oh, it looks pretty good. And the fear I get in, because I don't have the skill set or the tooling in my brain to, you know, shrink and stretch aluminum, is I go, I hope it doesn't warp. Oh God, I hope it doesn't warp. If it bubbles up, what do I do? Because that's what it used to be a nightmare. Like if someone told me, hey, you need to patch, like some stuff that's really easy for guys that know what's up is patching a flat firewall in a car. And you need to put a circular, you know, patch these holes, put a weird shaped one here and then put a circular one here and make it flush and make sure it doesn't warp. To me, that's like my worst nightmare. I was like, oh shit. Because even my welding technique was so far into the motorsports realm that I didn't understand even what the purpose of how the welding procedure wanted to be when you're just adding or replacing or finishing sheet metal surfaces. So same with this. Last night, I worked with the torch and I got some lessons and I do it after hours. And I go over here and I'm like, okay, how do I get this out? And I thought about it for a couple days because caveman, I go, 3, 5, 4, boom, 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 get a die, you know, hammer and dolly and dong, 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 dong. And then all of a sudden it's oil can and then it's stretched here, but it's bubbling here and it's insane. So understanding, slowing down and thinking about what this stuff is doing. It's almost, I know there's guys, you guys watch this and you know a lot more than me about this. So excuse me for learning and going through my process, but a lot of that is almost like it's like a metal and aluminum. Aluminum's a lot more devious, but steel is like it's like a Play-Doh. The material thickness can be moved around. So when you smush areas where you're stretching it, it's going somewhere else. It doesn't just go away. So you have to like manipulate and massage in a way that makes everything happy. And you're either chasing it or you're helping it. So getting that out was a huge win. I melted through the hood right there. I have to fix it. The whole goal here is just to chunk this stuff. So, I left this long. I know the cowl is here. This cleco's in, it stays there. I'm not gonna use all the cleco holes. There's tabs here. I clamp too. And then the next shape we're gonna wanna put in is gonna be the bill here. So reference picture, if we're standing here, I don't know where, but this obviously this is not as wide as this. Like, proportions are a little different, but you still get the same thing. You can tell this is even off because from our perspective, this would want to be greater of a width, and this would want to be narrower. So this whole thing should be shuffled over. But next, you know, where that red line is kind of our cutoff. So we're going to add this piece in here. But I'm going to finesse this thing. It's already welded on each side, especially because it's a hood. Sometimes you can get away with not welding the seams on each side. Sometimes it's a variable. Sometimes when you can't get into a spot from the backside, go in hot and you deal with the repercussions. Sometimes you go super cold on the top side, or you tack it and then you flip it and you weld the backside first. I think there is a time and place for all of that, but for this, I'm like, man, this is an easy one. I'll tack it all, put it over on the table, weld the inside, bring it over, fix it back on the car, weld the outside, and now we're just gonna, I have to get my mindset that even if I see a wave or something, I can get that out now, because for a while, that was terminal to me. I'm like, oh, it's screwed up. It's screwed up. There's nothing I can do about it. And really, it's about shrinking and stretching, making it happy. If I got to hit the weld to relieve it, a lot of that stuff, the aluminum gets tense and it's under tension, and all it wants to do is it needs a massage. And it goes, oh, I feel better. I don't have to walk around like this anymore. It's really similar to that. So the more I do it, the more I understand it. Chunk all this out. There's an underside here that I'm going to want to start finishing. But before that, this is the primary piece that comes off. So need to get this closeout in here done, close the chassis out. I'll show you what's under here right now. So that's just kind of a means to what had to go in before we could start finalizing the hood, because there's a return in here. I don't know if you can see, Joe, but like there's another shelf back there that's all shrunk and stretched that contours this, but it's spaced about 3/4 of an inch off of the backside of the glass, and that's per the glass installer request. So when they glue it, it'll stick and it'll flush in. So this whole thing, at the end of the day, it's going to be completely flush with all the surfaces. Like this is a good example. So that'll sink in there. It's flush. It's not a gasket style windshield. Like a lot of the easy way to do these things is you just do this radius thing, and you have this big ugly bulb gasket that just your windshield goes into, and it doesn't look, I don't think it's the optimal way to do it. So this is the way I've done a couple now, and they're just glued in, they stay, nothing flexes, nothing cracks. The Truggy had that too. So I think the big lesson I learned, the first one I did was for Evan Weller. He had a client with this black sand car, and it was narrow, but we had Mike, the glass guy, he came and he radiused. He did a minor access on the top and more of a major access on the bottom. And that windshield was special. It was cut, but it was also radiused. And then I taped it like a madman, where it was just full tape on the top, full tape on the bottom. And then I'm like, cool, now I can start building to it. And now I think I'm like, you fucking dumbass. I was just lightly clamping to the glass. It's taped, we're all good. I built this whole frame out, and I got through the welding process. I didn't have a shrinker or a stretcher, so I literally built a bottom shelf, where the glue sits, another shelf that holsters the window, and then the other part, and welded all of those together. Strips, little strips, clamping, insane. I got it, but it took weeks. Took all the tape off, and I was literally holding like a blanket of glass because there was so many cracks, thousands. So good part about this one is right when we were building the A-pillars on the windshield screen, I realized it was too narrow on the top. So I just treat it as a burner now, and it's easier to just build to because I don't have to be as cautious with it. got some chips and stuff in it, but nothing that's really obstructing the rigidity or the structure of it. But anyways, this had to go in. This doubles as a seal and a partition for the interior of the cabin, because that's what you have to think about. You know, there's got to be a seal here. A lot of the Zeus buttons that are already on the car from Alumacraft, like this, I'll use. All the ones on the side I'll try to occupy, and that's more of your basic flat panel that just seals the car up. You know, we'll have to do it on there, like on the inside too. That brings me to the inside. We should look at that. Weird. Sand cars are weird because you don't know where to draw a line. And for me, with tin work, I'm like, seal the deal. No exposed edges, no any of that. But I don't even look at sand cars. I don't even look at their bodies. I don't even look on the inside. And it makes me, now I'm going to be broken. If I go to a sand sports show or something, I'm going to be like, how'd they do that? Where's this go? Where's that? So I got, you know, I got injured or whatever, and then I had to just do stuff to make sure we were getting progress, and I couldn't do a lot of big, like lifting a windshield up in a frame, and you know, a lot of this was a problem. So I was able to get a lot of the trim done that I know we needed, and just kind of pivoting to what made sense. There's a lot of fill in now, right? There's dimensional edges here. There's trim pieces here so that everything gets kind of sealed off in a way. Everything's rough, but it's in there. You know, harness provisions, you know, this will get mesh in here. But then I even like looking in here with this, right? There's a lot of like raw material. And I wonder how far we want to go in here, because part of me wants to just seal this whole thing up. And it's almost like you're building two sand car bodies at that point, because you're literally building return flanges and edges in places, and I don't know. So I think the best thing to do is get all of this stuff, like I said, chunked out like a sculpture. Start with a block, get everything where the shapes are where they need to be, and then start figuring out the details and where they really matter. The other thing is like setting this thing up at ride height. I work on it in and out of being at compression or ride height, but ride height is where we'll check to see what our level of finish wants to look like on here. The other thing we need to do is we still need to build out an instrument panel and a dash. So there's quite a bit, but the details are probably going to go faster than the big runs that took a long time. I've been like all getting the shapes right. When we put it outside, we definitely got the shapes right. I'm very pleased with it. So the customer is really happy with it, and I'm super grateful for them to give us this opportunity. There's a lot of meaning behind this car. They got it from a family friend who passed away, and I think he'd be stoked too. So I think that's the sand car update. If you guys have questions, let me know. I know the Fab Diaries on this was, I don't even, honestly, I don't even watch all of the Fab Diaries, because I know they're long and I'm just filming it and just being myself. I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about. I'm just doing it with you guys. And then Joey goes through and edits it. But I'm like, dude, that's why I told Joey, I'm like, how many sand car body episodes is there going to be? If we filmed all of this, it would be like 30 part build series. So stopped some of that, and then I picked back up doing the hood. So if you guys watch the Fab Diaries, we'll be back to doing the hood. I think that's it. We're good. I'll talk to you guys later.